Picture this, you're at a concert, the lights go down and the music starts, and you look around. Half the crowd is watching the show through their phone screens. They're not experiencing it, they're documenting it, performing it, broadcasting it to an audience of people who aren't even there. And here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to talk about. What looks like sharing might actually be something else entirely. A dopamine addiction wrapped in the language of staying connected. A performance disguised as authenticity. And according to the research, it might be changing your brain in ways you didn't sign up for. Welcome back. Last episode, I talked about the silent majority, the 90% of people who never post on social media. Today, we're flipping the script and diving into the other side, the constant posters, the people who document every meal, every milestone, every time their feet hit a beach, every random thought, every graduation event, every time they get together with family, every time they buy something new. Anything that crosses their mind, they put online. Why do they do it? What drives someone to share their life in real time with hundreds, sometimes thousands of people? Is it connection, creativity, or is it something darker? But here's what the research shows. There's psychology behind every post, and it's not always pretty. We're talking about narcissism, dopamine addiction, external validation dependency, and actual measurable changes in brain structure. But we're also going to talk about the flip side, because not everyone who posts frequently is damaged or narcissistic. Some are genuinely trying to connect. So buckle up. This one's going to make you think twice before you hit share on your next post. The silence of the share. Let's start with the most important question. Why do people share anything on social media? According to a landmark study published by the New York Times Customer Insight Group, there are 5 main reasons people share content. 1, to bring valuable content to others. 2, to define ourselves to others. 3, to grow and nourish relationships. 4, for self-fulfillment. And 5, to support causes and brands they care about. On the surface, these all sound pretty reasonable, right? Sharing information, expressing yourself, building relationships. That's what social media was designed for. But here's where it gets interesting and uncomfortable. When you post something on social media and someone likes it, comments on it, or shares it, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that's released when you eat good food, have sex, or, wait for it, use dope. Trevor Haynes, a research technician at Harvard Medical School, puts it bluntly. Social media platforms leverage the same neural circuitry used by slot machines and cocaine to keep us using their products. Every notification is a hit. Every like is a reward. And your brain, it wants more, baby. Recent neuroimaging studies show that when people use social media, the same reward centers light up as they do in substance addiction. Over time, this creates what researchers call a dopamine deficit state. You need more and more engagement to feel the same level of satisfaction. Sound familiar? The performance paradox. Here's where it gets even more complicated. Remember how 68% of people said that they share to show who they are? Well, psychologist Carl Rogers had something to say about that. Rogers argued that we have 2 selves, our real self, who we actually are, and our ideal self, who we want to be. And guess which one shows up on social media? You got it, the ideal self. Social media becomes a place where we perform a curated version of ourselves. We're not sharing who we are. We're sharing who we want people to think we are. The best angles, the best moments, the carefully crafted captions that sound spontaneous but took 20 minutes to write. And here's the kicker. Research from the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology shows that this performance actually feeds back into our self-esteem. The more positive feedback we get, the more we post. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. The narcissism connection. Okay, time to talk about the elephant in the room. Narcissism. And before you get defensive, let me be clear, not everyone who posts on social media is a narcissist. But the research does show a pretty clear connection between frequent posting and certain narcissistic traits. A study from the Swansea University and Milan University tracked 74 people aged 18 to 34 over 4 months. Those who used social media excessively, particularly through posting images and selfies, showed an average 25% increase in narcissistic traits. Let me repeat that, a 25% increase in just 4 months. Some participants actually crossed above the clinical cutoff for the narcissistic personality disorder based on the measurement scale used. Multiple meta-analyses have confirmed this link. Grandiose narcissism, the look at how amazing I am type is positively correlated with time spent on social media, frequency of status updates, number of selfies posted, number of friends and followers. But here's the twist. It's not just that narcissists use social media more, it's that using social media excessively, particularly posting visual content, can increase narcissistic tendencies. It's a two-way street. Narcissists are drawn to platforms where they can get attention and admiration, but the platforms themselves might be creating more narcissists. Professor Phil Reed from Swansea University explained it in this way. The use of visual social media may emphasize the perception of narcissistic individuals that they are the main focus of attention. The lack of immediate direct social censure may offer them the opportunity to inflict aspects of their narcissistic personality. Translation: on social media, you can be as self-absorbed as you want, and instead of people calling you out, they give you likes. The vulnerable side. Now here's another type of narcissism that doesn't get talked about as much. Vulnerable narcissism. These are people who are oversensitive, insecure, and paradoxically seek validation while fearing criticism. And guess what? Research shows that vulnerable narcissism might actually drive more problematic social media use than grandiose narcissism. These folks are anxious in face-to-face interactions, so they retreat to social media where they feel safer. But they're also hypersensitive to negative comments, jealous of other people's posts, and constantly comparing themselves. It's exhausting just describing it. The personality factor. So, beyond narcissism, what else predicts whether someone will be a constant poster? The obvious connection? Extroversion. Multiple studies confirm what you probably already suspect. Extroverts post more. They have more friends, post more pictures, update their status more frequently, and they engage more with other people's content. Why? Because extroverts are wired for social interaction, and social media is just an extension of their offline personality. They're not escaping or compensating, they're just being themselves, just online. A comprehensive literature review found that extroversion positively correlates with the number of contacts, number of pictures posted, number of status updates, usage frequency, length of posts, and engagement with others' content. But it's not just that simple. Interestingly, some introverts also post frequently, but for different reasons. They might find it easier to express themselves in writing than in person. The distance and control that social media provides can actually be liberating for people who find face-to-face interaction overwhelming. And then there's the validation seekers. Research consistently shows that people who post 3 or more stories per day often have one thing in common: a deep need for validation and approval from others. They might constantly compare themselves to others online, feeling inadequate despite the likes they receive. They might delete posts that don't perform well or edit photos excessively. Their self-worth is literally tied to engagement metrics. Studies show that these folks often struggle with low self-esteem, insecurity, fear of missing out, and feelings of inadequacy. And the tragic irony, the very thing they're trying to do to feel better, posting for validation, is making them feel worse because external validation is never enough. The real costs. All right, let's talk about what all this posting is actually doing to people. It changes the brain. This isn't metaphorical, this is literal. Measurable changes in the brain structure occur. Research shows that excessive social media use, particularly in young people, leads to neural pruning. The brain literally cuts away pathways to make the reward pathway faster and more efficient. Sounds good, right? Wrong. This pruning is associated with increased impulsivity, decreased self-control, difficulty regulating emotions, and shrinkage of the amygdala and nucleus accumbens, which are key areas for emotion and decision-making. Laura Elin Piggott, a researcher at London South Bank University, explained it perfectly. Using social media lights up the same parts of your brain as other addictions, such as drugs, alcohol, and gambling. And there is a mental health impact. And here's where it gets really concerning. People who post frequently on social media report higher levels of anxiety, increased depression, more stress, lower self-esteem, greater social comparison, and feelings of loneliness. And remember that study from the last episode, the one where reducing social media use for just 1 week led to a 16% reduction in anxiety and a 24% reduction in depression? Guess who benefits most from the detox? The constant posters. Here's something I've been thinking about a lot. We're told to be authentic on social media, to show the real you. But here's the problem. You can't be authentic when you're performing. The moment you think this would make a great post, you've shifted from experiencing to performing. You're not living in the moment, you're curating it. And research on influencer culture shows this perfectly. Many influencers report feeling trapped in a cycle of having to maintain a certain image, a certain aesthetic, a certain brand. They can't just be, they have to perform authenticity, which is a contradiction in terms. And here's a story that stuck with me. Researchers found a case where a couple divorced, and one of the main reasons cited was that the wife spent more time during their vacation planning posts and taking selfies than she did actually spending time with her husband. Let that sink in. She was with him, but she wasn't present. And in years past, I've probably been that person too, taking the perfect photo of a moment instead of actually experiencing it, worrying about the caption instead of engaging in the conversation, checking notifications during dinner, wondering if my food was going to be Instagram worthy. It's not connection. It's a simulation of connection. But wait, is it all bad? Okay, so I've been pretty harsh, so let me be fair and present the other side. Not everyone who posts is damaged. Some people genuinely use social media in healthy ways. Artists and creators share their work. People building genuine communities around shared interests. Those staying connected with faraway family. Educators spreading valuable information. Entrepreneurs trying to promote and grow their businesses. And activists organizing for causes. Frequent posting doesn't automatically equal problematic use. The key is intent and awareness. Here are some questions for you to ask yourself. If you're a frequent poster, research suggests you should ask, why am I really posting this? To share something meaningful or for likes? How do I feel when posts don't perform well? Disappointed but okay? Or genuinely distressed? Am I experiencing moments or just curating them? Are you present in that moment or are you thinking about how to capture it? And does posting enhance my life or distract from it? Is it adding value or are you avoiding something? And would I still do this if nobody was watching? This is the big one. Research from the Journal of Experimental Psychology shows that the quality of social media use matters more than quantity. People who use social media to maintain real relationships, share meaningful content, and engage authentically report positive outcomes. It's the difference between posting a photo of dinner with friends because you want to remember the moment versus posting it to make others envious. Sharing an achievement because you're proud of it versus because you need that validation. Or updating your status to inform people versus to perform for them. The motivation here matters. The awareness matters. The bigger picture. Here's what I think this all comes down to. We're living through a massive social experiment. For the first time in human history, we have the ability to broadcast our lives to hundreds or thousands of people instantly. And we have no idea what the long-term consequences are. But the research is starting to paint a picture, and it's not entirely pretty. We're creating feedback loops where posting leads to validation. Validation releases dopamine. Dopamine makes us want to post more. We need more engagement to feel the same high. Our self-worth becomes tied to the metrics. We perform instead of living. Our brains literally restructure, and then we call it sharing. But here's the thing. Awareness is the first step. Understanding why you post, what you're seeking, and what it's costing you. That's power. Maybe you're an extrovert who genuinely loves connecting online. That's great. Just make sure it's enhancing your real-world relationships, not replacing them. Maybe you're using social media to build your business or your platform. That's legitimate. Just don't lose yourself in the performance. Maybe you're posting because you're seeking something you're not getting elsewhere. Connection, validation, purpose. That's understandable. But social media can't give you those things. Not really. So what's the takeaway here? People post constantly on social media for complex, layered reasons. Some are driven by personality traits like extroversion. Some are seeking validation they didn't get elsewhere. Some are genuinely trying to connect. And some, whether they realize it or not, are feeding an addiction. The research shows that frequent posting is correlated with narcissistic traits, dopamine-driven reward cycles, external validation dependence, mental health challenges, and brain structure changes. But it's not destiny. It's a choice we make every time we pull out our phones. The question isn't whether you should post or not post. The question is, are you aware of why you're doing it? And is it serving you or are you serving it? Because at the end of the day, your life is happening right now. Not in a comment section, not through a screen, not through the validation of people you barely know or don't know at all. It's happening in the moment you're living, not the moment you're capturing. So maybe the next time you reach for your phone to document something, pause and ask yourself, am I experiencing this or am I performing it? The answer might surprise you. That's it for today. Whether you're a poster, a lurker, or somewhere in between, I hope this made you think. I'll see you next time.